I think you were debating somebody on. I think it was whether or not abortion should be an amendment.
Wow.
But I was on your side on that one for sure.
Thank you. So you think evolution is what?
I want to. Well, first off, I think I have to ask a question to like understand what your viewpoint on it is. So, like, what do you? Because to some extent, I think that evolution is undeniably real. Like, evidently, like things clearly evolve and adapt from other. Like that's just nature. You know what I mean?
Right. I agree.
So, like, are you? But my main point where I struggle with agreeing with evolution completely is like, and maybe it's just because I don't know the information to be able to like comprehend this, but I don't understand how evolution could possibly start without there being some sort of like a God figure. Does that make sense?
Right, that makes sense. So is that the question? Basically, how does evolution have nothing?
Yeah, I'm asking if you believe that, and if so, like, yeah, we can debate that.
Oh, okay. I would say I believe in the Big Bang.
Okay. No, that's not even like my thing either, though. But I think that like a God of some sort started that.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I don't agree with that. I think it was just.
Okay, there we go. We can debate that.
So we'll start, I guess, how like evolution even started to become a thing.
Sure.
So we'll go with in the very beginning, I guess. Let's say there was bacteria, and natural selection, blah blah blah. Okay. Bacteria becomes better out of natural selection somehow, blah blah blah. And then from there, bacteria, that group of more cells or organisms creates niches, like water, air, blah, whatever.
For sure. I buy all this, yeah.
It spreads out that way. Necessarily. But I'm not a scientist, so I don't, necessarily know how the Big Bang and all its...
Yeah, no, I totally get the viewpoint you're coming from. So yeah, I would say that I definitely agree with everything that you've said up to this point. I believe that evolution to some point obviously has been proven throughout the past. Like you can clearly see, like, for example, if you look at like Darwin's studies that like with the I can't even remember what type of bird, was it pigeons? That like clearly they
finches.
Okay,
finches.
On the
there you go.
Finches. Yeah, finches it was finches. So like with things like that, for example, like it's evident that things clearly evolve from one another based on where they are and what they need to do to be able to survive. You can even see that in humanity with like skin color, for example, with like melanoma differences depending on how far you are from the equator, having to do with like radiation and like just and like that whole vibe.
Right.
So things like that are clearly obvious. But what really gets me is like I don't with like knowledge of physics, right? And maybe the reasoning for this is because the Big Bang occurred according to something where physics didn't like pertain to that situation. But energy or matter cannot be created or destroyed. So how could the two, because the Big Bang relies on the theory that like two atoms or something like collided, right? So how could those two things be created in the first place without there being like a God figure? Because according to physics, they cannot be created or destroyed. Does that make sense?
Right. I understand. And I'm not a physicist, so I can't even begin to understand any of that.
Because the thing is, like, I think we agree on everything that like past that point, but that point is like the point that everything changes for me. That makes sense.
Yeah. I really don't know. That's a very good question that I don't think anyone can answer at this point in the world.
This guy in the comments clearly has a
greater understanding.
Yeah, I guess.
But I really don't know. I hope someone, figures it out. But it's not going to be me.
Yeah,
it will not be me.
I see what you're saying. No, me neither, man.
Because no. It is not going to be me.
Well, damn it, I guess we don't have anything to debate on then. Never mind.
Well, I'm glad you think evolution is real. I've talked to a few people that didn't think evolution was real at
Yeah,
all.
no, I think that evolution and religion go hand in hand. Like, there's proof, like especially like in the Christian religion, if you look at like things in like the first book. So if you're looking through like Genesis and follow through there,
Right.
the way that whole book starts off literally follows hand in hand with how people believe evolution started. So like,
Right.
I think you can believe both at the same time and be totally correct. Or, well, I mean, religions, whether or not you accept it or not, is more of an opinion, and like you can look at facts with them and stuff like that.
But so I guess, how do you think religion came about? If you want to switch topics,
how do I
guess.
think? Yeah, we could do that. How do I think religion came about? Well, okay. So I definitely believe that like there is it depends on what part you want to get at. Like, why do you think religion is popular, or why do I believe what I believe?
I guess, like, why did it come about, if that makes sense? Like, why? Do you think
Well,
it
if
happened?
it's, I mean, if you believe that religion is real,
Right.
then the reason it came about was for like, because that God or whatever you believe in is the one that created like this world in the first place and has ruled it since the dawn of time. So like, it came about because it was. Does that make sense?
Right.
So like that, I feel like that question it hinges on whether or not you believe in religion.
That makes sense. I think how religion came about was that like humans needing something greater than them.
Order. I believe in that too. I think that's why government exists. Like, obviously, that's why government exists.
Right.
Humans cannot exist without having some governing figure.
Yeah, I mean, because if humans were on top and we knew we were on top, what would we do? You know what I mean? I guess religion was kind of like the first law book, I guess, like with the Ten Commandments in the Christian Bible or in the Bible. That was kind of like the
Sort of, I guess.
Kind of, sort of. It was like, don't steal, don't lie, don't.
I mean, but I want to say, I don't know if I can say that because I don't know if that's exactly true off the top of my head. I would have to like look that up.
Right.
This Hammurabi's code and like things of that sort. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
that
But
predates that.
His code was just kind of like in his empire, though. But like with a religion that can span multiple empires everywhere. So that's why I said it was kind of like.
I agree. Which is why when you look at things with like ISIS, for example, cannot be defeated like a traditional government because that's able to span throughout everywhere.
But even then, they're using, Sharia law
it's not
in the Islamic law, which is based off of Judaism and other Abrahamic religions. So I guess it's not like Hammurabi's law, which was the actual like law code for a long ass time, but like it was kind of like the basis, I guess, if that makes sense, because there were religions before Christianity and Judaism and Islam, but they were all kind of
but then that also that depends on what you believe, because if like, for example, I'm a Christian, right? So like if I was to say it, I couldn't say that there was any other Judaism I could say was there before Christianity. But like I couldn't say to you that I honestly believe that Judaism hasn't been here since the beginning of time, because I believe that like literally the first two people to exist on the earth both believed in God, because they were created by him and would have seen him in like, face to face. So like they would have been Jewish then by default. So therefore that would have, to me, like based on what I believe, that's been there since the beginning of time. And I mean, like there's evidence that like Judaism has been along for a really fucking long time. Like I was looking at the thing earlier this week that was talking about like they recently found Jewish texts like in Hebrew, and then they're like saying now that like they believe Hebrew might be the oldest language to like have ever existed.
Hebrew's very old, but like Hebrew came out from Phoenician.
So, but I mean, maybe there were.
I think it was from
maybe there are religions that last like almost as long as that, because I mean, like
there are still very old religions. I think Zoroastrianism is pretty old. Zoroastrianism is one of the world's oldest monotheistic religions. It was founded by the prophet Zoroaster in ancient Iran approximately 3,500 years ago.
I've never even heard of that, but that sounds cool. I have to look it up.
It's not very big.
Followed, yeah.
It used to be the Empire of Persia's like official
Okay,
religion, I guess. And then became
gotcha. So
Islam.
like, okay, it became Islam.
No, it's like they're separate, but
Okay, Persia, like the Persian area, then was taken over by like Islamic religions, like not taken over, but Islam became like the main religion of that area.
kind of
That's what you're
sort of.
saying.
It says Zoroastrianism entered recorded history in the 5th century BCE, including a Mithratic Median prototype and Zeravinus Sassanid. If no one knows how to say that, please correct me. Successor as it served as a state religion of the pre-Islamic Iranian empires from around 600 BCE to 650 CE. Zoroastrianism was suppressed from the 7th century onwards following the Muslim conquest of Persia.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of things in Muslim religion, especially if you look into like older parts of the doctrine, are pretty intolerant of other religions. So like they would have.
It got shit done. It got a lot of shit done.
I mean, sort of, but if you look at the most efficient religion or efficient empires throughout time, like the Mongols, for example, allowing people to keep their customs is a lot more efficient than making people believe in things they don't want to believe in.
Right, but you also have to see as like how united the empire was. How long did the Mongol Empire last? Not very long. But the Roman Empire,
clearly it hasn't lasted as long as Islam has an effect on that area. So I suppose you're right then.
right, but like in the Roman Empire, that was like, I think this was it. Is it like you convert to Roman religion or pay a very hefty fine?
Yeah, they were taxed.
Yeah.
Like a religion.
So that would
religion
incite
tax.
them to become united, and that's why the empire lasted so long. That and other reasons, but
I don't know if I would say that would make them. See, now, like for example, with you and I, so like that would be as if to tell me that like if the United States government was, I don't know, you haven't mentioned like what are you an atheist or like I don't know.
I don't know. We'll say
okay.
What
would you classify yourself as?
We'll say not affiliated.
Not affiliated. Okay, so you don't want to be affiliated. So then, like, if the U.S. government, do you live in the U.S.?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, so if the U.S. government, I don't know if this app goes outside of I would imagine it would have to. But anyway, so if the U.S. government was to come to you tomorrow and to be like, listen, if you don't stop calling yourself non-affiliated and start calling yourself Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Hindu,
right.
Buddhist, whatever, like that would not make you want to be united with anyone else who actually believes in whatever they're telling you to do. You know what I mean? I feel like that causes diversion. Or not diversion, like strain just amongst the people.
Right, but like
I feel like that's a really ineffective way to govern people. That causes revolutions.
Yes, I agree. Like back then in the 1760s, we'll say, the American colonies and Britain were very different. Not as different culturally because they were still under the same empire, but they weren't. They were different to the extent that you can call them different, but it wasn't, British colonialism. So I think that had an effect on the revolution, along with other things. But say like in the Mongol Empire, that if everyone's different, why in an empire with the same people in Beijing, if you're in Tehran, completely different, you're gonna be like, why? There's no point. You're not united, frankly.
I see what you're going for.
But the Mongol Empire didn't last very long. They didn't do much.
Well, see, I would say that the reason it didn't last very long is because, it pretty much died after
Genghis Khan died.
I'm blanking on the dude's name. After Khan died, like after there was no effective leader. That the problem wasn't that the governing powers that they had going on were bad. The problem was that the leader who took over afterwards was just shit.
I'm sure that had an effect because that happened with Alexander the Great's empire. It was him, and then he died, and then it split up into like 3 parts, and then it just shit hit the fan, I guess.
But when it comes down to it, the Mongols are going to be the one noted in history as having the larger empire.
They're the largest empire by landmass, yes. But the greatest empire, probably British or Roman. completely.
Okay.
All right, I guess, what do you think? Do you disagree
Do I disagree with what?
that the Roman Empire or the British Empire was the greatest?
I mean, it depends on what you mean by greatest, because
Most effects.
I would say that the Mongols treated people in a much better respect than either of those two empires, especially the British. Okay, wait. Hold
Yeah,
on.
okay,
We're gonna
hold
come
on.
across differently about Mongols raping people or something like that. I'm going to say that their governing thing is okay. The principles that they took towards governing their citizens, I guess, are things that ended up holding along for like that. Some of those things, as far as how we should be in respect to diversity, still exist to this day and are things that people are trying to get going in the U.S. Whether, I mean, you like it or not. I'm not. I mean, I don't know. That's up to that's a different debate. But like things, for example, such as like British imperialism and colonialism, people are not going to tell you that's a good thing. You know what I mean? So as far as like greatest as
They just had like the most
long
effect.
lasting-
Like the Romans, you can like Google what they invented and whatnot. The Mongols, they kind of rode horses and shot people.
Okay.
Took land, raped women. That's Mongol Empire
Okay.
in a nutshell.
I see what you're saying then.
But I mean, the Roman Empire, that was after the Mongol Empire fell, there was not a dark age. After the Roman Empire fell,
Yeah.
there was dark ages.
There was dark age.
And
Okay.
it was shit. So
Yeah.
that had to have had some kind of effect.
That's just lack of governing body.
True. And, the Romans invented the ark, and aqueducts. They had a booming society, like the most populated city in the world in like 1000 AD, 10 AD was Rome. And it was Rome for a very long time. And then it was like Beijing and other shit. But Rome was popping. That was the center of the world for a long, long time.
No, I agree. But I would, okay, as a guy, right?
Right.
Maybe not as a girl because of the whole rape issue going on.
Kidnapping children.
But I would much rather have been under Mongol rule and have been someone that didn't exactly line up beliefs wise with Genghis Khan,
right,
than be under British rule if I was Indian or something like that, or Roman rule if I was Muslim. That does not sound like a good time.
Well, I don't think the Romans were that bad. I don't think they had a lot of uprisings.
I mean, they just taxed the shit out of them, and
the Romans got shit done.
I mean,
they had their shit together.
I can't argue that poverty would be fun,
No, I mean, but the Romans had not hotels, but apartment buildings. They had well orchestrated armies. So did the Mongols, but it was
for sure. But I'm not arguing that if I was Roman, that'd be tight as fuck. But I wouldn't. My thing is, I'm saying I'm the one being conquered. I'm not a Roman.
Well, I mean, even then, there were worse people to conquer you.
For sure.
The Vandals, the Gauls. It's not necessarily a diamond in the rough. That's
nah. But I mean, I'm just comparing Mongol to Roman, I suppose.
I would rather be under Roman rule completely, because when the Romans came, they built roads, buildings. There's ancient roads that the Romans built in England, because that's when they came there. The soldiers built roads and made towns.
Yeah, because they're not gonna let the land have conquered to look like shit.
Exactly, they had their shit together. The Mongols just kind of this acre is our town.
So I suppose the argument is, are you willing to give up your rights as an individual so that you are able to be in a prosperous society, I guess? And my answer to that would be no.
Compared to Roman and Mongol, yeah.
If we were going to take that to the modern day, I don't know. You got a lot of things in the U.S. where people were talking about wanting to give larger tax portions and things of that sort to the government so that the government can be able to go out and act and do more stuff. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, I care too much about my individual rights to be able to. I don't like big government.
I agree. Neither do I. But we have to have a government, though.
I agree. There has to be some sort of government. Yes.
we have to have a
No,
government.
I would say I would classify myself as like libertarian or constitutionalist, but I wouldn't say I'm an anarchist. That makes sense.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Kind of very interesting though. But yeah. All right. Well, this was an interesting discussion.
Yeah, I guess. Good one.
I don't know if you want to check my positions. I'm conservative, so I have very conservative positions, kind of across the board. You have
Gotcha.
anyone you want to disagree with? Feel free. I'll debate you.
All right, cool.
All right. I'll see you later.
Right on. Good talking to you.
You too.